Hello, hello, Lindsay Setchell here. I wonder if it'll put something else up when I say Lindsay Setchell here. Right, I wasn't going to go live this morning, for me, morning, quite late for anybody in the UK and in France. Let me just go live on Instagram. Yes, we're live. I wasn't going to go live this morning because we're packing. We've got so much stuff to do. I thought I'd just do a video, and then I thought, you know what? I Timmy's nipped out, and Ash is getting herself ready. So I thought I'll do a very quick live, and I thought I'd do a live. I thought this one we'd throw this one in. Why do hoof care professionals argue? What is going on? Okay. It's we're stepping into something that is highly uncomfortable because it's down to human opinion, but it's necessary. So this is highly uncomfortable territory. Why do they argue? Why do professionals argue so much? If you spent any time on social media in the hoof care space, you've probably seen it. It's been happening this week. We've had heated discussion over angles, polite sometimes, or not so polite disputes about things like taking the hoof walls off, relieving the hoof walls, heel height, run, toe length, usually removing the vertical depth, frog trimming, bars, and everything in between. Should we, shouldn't we? Should we, shouldn't we? Should well, how far? How far should we go? How far should we leave? It goes on and on and on. And let's be honest. Excuse me. Sometimes it's really less about hoof care and it's more about the person. It's more about their beliefs. It's more about, well, that we can round that up with one 3-letter word, can't we? Ego. It's more about their reputation, what the hill they're prepared to die on, the claims they've staked in the world. And now we're moving on. Now we're starting to show the data that everybody missed in the equine world, the sequential x-rays, the sequential photographs. Now we're starting to show that because that was, nobody needs to take a photograph. No. Now we're starting to show that. We are starting to see the center of what everyone keeps missing. And maybe that's because it's just too simple. The center, of course, is what the hoof is trying to show you, and the hoof's constants. So let's talk about that today. I thought we'd go in and talk about that. All right. So let me know. Let me know if you have any opinions on that. If you think that, yes, you see it all the time. You see it all the time. You see people arguing all the time over what they think should be right, what they think is the right angle, is the right heel size, toe, how much it needs to come off, etc., etc. Let me know. Let me know if you've seen it. Let me know what you see. Confusion all around. Okay, let's do a quick shout out. I'm going to try and make this quick. Undercover Carnival's here. Hello, Marianne's here. Good morning, Leah. Suzanne Scheid's here. Andrea's here. Track to Nature's here. Judith's here. Good morning. Jill Truscott's here. Kathy Yorkshire Lass has joined us on Instagram. Okay, let's get into it because I'm going to try and get this one quickly done. So, arguing over hoof care. It's hidden. Oftentimes, what we don't see, or the owner doesn't see because the horse puts his foot down because they don't really look, is either hidden under fancy gear, or I use the word fancy loosely. What's going on underneath the shoe, the cast, the package, or what's just underneath the horse's foot that the owner hasn't seen. And they look at the foot and just goes, oh, that's nice. So the owner is often taken out of the equation. Although you will find many owners, perhaps even yourselves, oftentimes going, oh, why aren't the feet looking the same? I'd like them to look a little bit more similar. Or That one's boxy, that one's low. We've got high low. Is it called high low? Why do the feet look like that? Why has it got flare? Questions. But what we often are left with are people who will talk the talk, but as soon as they pick a foot up, goes to pieces. Cannot tell you how many times I have been onto a hoof care professional's website and I have read this very convincing, incredibly plausible blurb about why they're into hoof care, why they're into barefoot, why they do the things that they do. It's all very convincing. It's all very relatable in many instances. And you think, goodness me, yes, this person really understands what they're doing. And then when they go to pick the foot up and they start doing things to the horse's foot and they pick the knife up and they're rasping their nippers, the reality is completely different. Honestly, because we get sent photographs, get sent to us all the time, and they say, right, I was using this hoof care professional, and we go and have a look at that hoof care professional's website, and it's there in black and white. All the really good things you want to read about how they care about the horse, how they feel, that it's important that the horse, should be listened to, and all of this. And yet they pick the foot up. The two worlds do not collide. This world is fantasy, it appears, and this world is the reality. Heels are left too high. This creates a false frog contact. They crush the digital cushion as it gets squashed going further up, plus the DDFT. And then they pitch the weight forward onto the toe. The toe pillars are chopped off, or pillar is chopped off, removing that vertical depth over and over and over and over and over. And then they wonder why these horses go sore. And it's nothing to do with me, because in my mind, my fantasy world is of keeping the horses sound and making sure they have great hooves. My fantasy world that I write about all over my website and my social media page does not fit with my reality world, which is me picking up a hoof, doing a different thing to the left fore than I do to the right fore, than I do to the left hind, than I do to the right hind. I kind of just get a bit confused when I'm faced with the foot. This is what I imagine in my fantasy world, but in my real world, I end up screwing it up. Bars are completely misunderstood. They are usually left a little tickle and misunderstood at their hoof wall, and any amount of pressure through that area of the foot, the sole, with the bar in place, is going to cause a pressure point. It's going to hurt. Don't think about that. Again, my fantasy world of keeping the horse sound and making sure that it has the hoof the horse wants doesn't fit with my real world. That's how it is all the time. So when shoes are put on, when casts are put on, when the toe is brought back, when the heels are left, they're left to come up, all of those things that are going on all the time, constantly, they put the foot down and truly believe to themselves, and maybe even say to the owner, there you go, problem solved. But guess what? That horse is now walking on a distorted foot, on a foot where hoof growth rates are going to be changed. Their posture is compromised. Their hoof mechanism gradually starts to be shut down. And that's just the beginning of the downward spiral. That's just the beginning. Every single trim, every single shoeing, try something a little bit different here. Let's try something a little bit different. Here's my fantasy world. Here's my reality of playing around with the horse's foot and guesswork. So what happens next? Well, the horse might appear or feel a little bit sounder, maybe for a few weeks. Yeah, hey, you fixed it. But then gradually the lameness returns, or it moves to another limb, or we have more postural problems. Now the horse needs a more complex shoe, or a more complex trim, or a more tight trim, or relieve more walls and more toe. A different pad, a new magic fix. And round and round and round we go, because we never address the basics. And so it's, I know I seem amused at it. I'm not amused. I'm I'm tr- I'm not amused. It's not funny. It's awful. You hear them go, "Oh, what do you think? What palm angle do you think it should be?" Well, I think it should be this. Me, I think it should. No, no, no. It should be this. Oh, thank you for that. But shouldn't it be this? And it goes on and on and on and on. And not one person you will ever hear go. Okay, occasionally you might get one little person that gets in there and goes, "Hello, hello. Have you thought about following the horse's constants?" No, you go away, block. It's unbelievable. So, what does the horse, what does it really need? Well, it needs a balanced trim, balanced. As I go around doing the missionary things that we do with HM, we go do these workshops. One thing I find more than anything else is that balance is so terribly misunderstood. So a horse needs a balanced trim because that's what they're trying to create, a balanced foot. And that balanced trim must respect the natural parameters of the foot, the constants. They need a hoof care approach that reads the anatomical constants, like how high the heel should be relative to the HSP. Understand the frog's role in everything and its position rooted in the sole, and understand that there is a toe pillar there put in place so that we don't pitch P3 forward, even by a tiny tiddly widdly bit of an angle. It's enough to go against the natural parameters of that horse's foot. We need then, when we're rehabbing these horses, time. We need time to allow the hoof to regenerate to their correct structure and function. And if the horse is sore while this is happening, because they came in sore, not because we're making them sore, remember that, because they came in sore, as soon as the shoe comes off, as soon as they're not able to walk because P3 is in the wrong position, then we use hoof boots with a non-wedged pad. Please, folks, if you get a hoof boot that has a wedged pad in it, don't use it. You want a non-wedged pad that's going to offer the comfort without altering the mechanics. That's important. Every time you put a wedge in, you alter the mechanics to what you are guessing you think the horse needs. It's so disregarded that people, oh yeah, I've got wedge pad in. You do realize that has literally just changed that horse's hoof mechanics, that hoof mechanism in that horse. That's it. Oh, well, it came with it. Right. So we're not saying don't support the horse. We're saying don't prop up dysfunction. There's a difference. Don't prop up the dysfunction. Instead of patching over poor trimming with fancy products or fancy trims, you just need, they're not fancy for the horse. You just need to get the trim well balanced to the horse's natural parameters. You then support healing while it's going along the healing pathway, and you allow the hoof to become what nature designed it to be, a strong, responsive, adaptable structure. It is all of those things. It's incredible because it relies on feedback, not fiction. Feedback, not fiction. So the real danger of these quick fixes is that they mask pain without solving the cause and looking at the symptoms, which were usually human related. They encourage people to avoid proper trimming, proper natural parameters. That's been ignored for many, 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 many decades. And they shut down the hoof function, especially when movement and sensation are restricted. And if you challenge people and say, because we love to be challenged, if you challenge people and you say, why have you left the heels higher than the hard sole plane and underrun, and why have you left the bar? They may come out with a bunch of gobbledygook that sounds incredibly plausible. And all they needed to do was say, well, I just felt that I did not want to follow the horse's natural constants because I know better. Block. Oh God. So they're shutting down the hoof function. They are. It doesn't matter whether they leave the heels just a teeny tiny bit above the hard sole plane and they take the toe a teeny tiny bit. They have just changed the natural parameters, the natural constants of that. They've not followed the natural constants of that horse's foot, and therefore they have changed the angles. And with all of this, they're going to delay real healing. They're going to find cracks. They're going to find stress points. they're going to find horn tubules that are not doing what they're meant to be doing. And that just leads to more invasive interventions later on. You'll hear barefoot people going, oh, well, it didn't work. So, yes, shoes are going to be the next best thing. What? What are you doing? Why are you saying that? We've seen it over and over and over again. Horses that are kept comfortable with wedge shoes or support packages, only to end up with real problems later on, with atrophied frogs, collapsed heels, rotated P3s, irreversible damage months or years down the line. We see it all the time. And why? Why? What's the heartbreaking part? Many, if not all, horses could recover from minor changes if only the person doing the foot understand the balanced natural trim, the correct loading, gentle movement, how that horse needs to move all the time and not be stuck in a box, and use supportive booting when needed. It's not flashy. No, it's not flashy. No, it's not flashy, but it works. It's not fiction. It's all about feedback. So I'm going, before I, because I've come to the end really, because I wanted this to be quite quickly. Let me just talk to whoever's come in. Marianne says, got fed up with all the arguing and attitude, so left every barefoot laminitis group. How can people dispute what GTL are proving all the time? How can they dispute it? But they do, because it's their fiction fantasy world, because they've read it in a book or they've read it online, or it looks wrong. And if it looks wrong, well, therefore it must be wrong. We always look at form over function when we should be looking at function. To hell with the form, you know, and that's not to hell with it completely, because the form will come back as long as that horse has not been subjected to horrific osteonecrosis and degeneration and arthritis, all caused navicular, all caused by improper foot placement, imbalances, because nobody wanted to follow the horse's natural foot. It's so simple. And yet people run away with their ideas far down the rabbit hole, that they can't turn around. They can't see the light back there anymore, and they can't turn around. They don't know which way it's back. So they just get lost in this rabbit warren of, confusion. Oh, they say something that's quite plausible. I'll listen to them for 5 minutes. And, oh, no, that didn't work. I'll go and listen to them for 5 minutes. What we do isn't a method, of course. We're just following the horse's natural parameters. Claire is here. Hello, Claire. Bethan, hello. Anne says, hi from Canada. Bethan says, I've been told today I need to read a book from a farrier school to educate myself. Yes, because that farrier school was here 1.5 million years ago, and the modern horse stopped evolving. Yes, that farrier school wrote its book back then. That's correct. They're writing a book on farriery and how to make the horse look nice. The horse is footing with shoes on. You are always going to mess with the hoof mechanism, always. If you put shoes on, wedge pads on, if you let the heels go higher, if you take the toe off, if you let the bars overgrow, it's honestly so simple. And people say, oh, you can't teach a trim in 3 days. Well, what kind of trim do you think we're teaching? What kind of trim do you think that we're teaching them all these fancy things, all these fancy little gadgets, and all my quivers, my arrows in my quiver. I've got loads of them. Oh, yes, this horse has got this problem. I will do this. Do you know something? It doesn't matter what problem a horse has. We turn up and do the same thing. We follow Mother Nature's constants every time. It doesn't matter what problem the horse is suffering from. We don't change. We don't think, oh, the latest arrow. Let's try this. Let's back the toe up more. Let's put it in a natural balance shoe. Let's wedge with a 3-degree wedge. Oh, or a pad as well. And we'll put some dim material in. Oh, and no, we'll take that out now. That's not working. But we'll keep taking the toe back. And hard sole plane? What's that? No, we don't follow that. It's shocking. Nikki's addiction is here on Instagram. It's shocking. Kay is giving us some hearts, and Vicky says, good morning, good morning. All right, so today's takeaway, I'm going to whiz off now because I've got to go and pack. We've got to get out of here because we've then got a day getting ourselves sorted, and then we've got to go to Sydney Airport, and we start our journey back to France tonight. So the next time you see me, we'll probably be in an airport somewhere. The takeaway today, quick fixes, my friends, are not quick fixes. They don't fix anything. They cover up the real problem. True hoof health, it comes from correct balance trimming, not the balance that the human thinks needs to be done, the balance to the horse's natural foot. If you don't respect those natural structures, you are going to have problems. And then once you've done that, you have to trust the body to heal when you give it the right conditions to do so, because the body needs to heal with the right conditions for good emotional support as well. So for today's mini challenge, think about the last time someone offered a quick fix for your horse. Did it truly address the root cause, or did it just address the symptoms? And when you turned around 5 minutes later, you could see that your horse was indeed not better. And that's why the Phoenix group is a very big eye-opener for so many owners around the world when they see all of the poor hoof care that piles in on a daily basis, and the confusion. So share in the comments if you've experienced a moment where choosing the natural route, the slower route, the better route, bringing that horses back to its natural constants is paid off and makes it sustainable for the future. We are talking about feedback, function, fact, fiction. All right, thank you very much. If you like this, please tell a friend. Please like, share, follow, subscribe on YouTube, because then you'll get the notifications. The best results, my friends, come from patience, precision, and it has to be precision trimming to that horse's precise foot. And it's a commitment to doing what's right for the horse. The Phoenix Way, my friends, is about function over fixes, because the true healing doesn't come in a box or a shoe or a cast or someone's imagination. It comes from understanding and applying nature's blueprint. All right, until next time, tomorrow, I will see you, my friends. I will see you then. Maybe I will be, I don't know, maybe I will be in an airport lounge somewhere. Okay, take it easy. All the best. Bye-bye. Bye.